I do have to say, I listened to the Marvel podcast that you were
Okay.
doing, and
Uh-oh.
I hadn't watched Endgame yet,
Oh,
and I had finally watched it last night, and it is an excellent movie.
right?
But I did hear some spoilers. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I probably shouldn't have listened.
we knew we were going to spoil stuff. Right. That's what you listen to a podcast about Marvel after Endgame's come out. Like, unfortunately, we can't not talk about it.
And it's only my fault because I'm the one who didn't watch it until
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah, geez, this is your fault.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Guardian Hub podcast, where we talk Destiny and our experiences in the game. We like to spotlight different guests and communities and are a place to talk about uplifting experiences that we have. I'm Kingsley Mack, and with me is Sin. Sin, how are you doing?
pretty good. Had a long, busy week, but I'm pretty good overall. How are you?
I'm good. And with us also tonight, special guest, we have KytKutcha from the Destiny Massive Breakdown podcast. How are you doing, man?
Well, as regular listeners to Massive Breakdowns know, I'm doing wonderful. I usually am. So I'm happy to be here. This is exciting.
Yes, I do remember you say you're wonderful. That's always a great attitude to have. I always perk up when I hear that too. It's a nice thing to hear.
I get a little guff when I'm not wonderful. People are like, "Oh man, what's wrong? You weren't wonderful this week. Like something terrible must have happened."
I know. It's not like you want to start a podcast saying, "Oh man, I'm down in the dumps."
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And talking about Destiny always puts me in a positive mood. So I'm happy to share that mood.
Well, man, and I know there's a lot of exciting things we had this week, but real quick, for those that aren't intimately familiar with your podcast yet, can you just give us like a quick couple minute background on why you started it and what it's about?
Sure. So Destiny Massive Breakdowns is a collaboration between myself and Mercules 904, who's the better known, probably member of our hosting team. He did it's not the original Destiny weapons stats spreadsheet, but it's the one that has been the most used, I think, over the last 5 or 6 years. And so that's kind of been our sort of calling card for a long time is maintaining that. And that's the real focus of the Massive Breakdown podcast. Is it's kind of in the name, right? We dig into stats, perks, what's good, what's not good, why it's not good. We also do, occasionally kind of delve into strategy, general game mechanics, that kind of thing. But I think our bread and butter, and probably the episodes and the posts and things that we're really most known for are guides and reviews to choosing your weapons wisely. That's kind of what we do.
And boy, have I learned a lot from it over the years. I have taken Mercules' advice on trying to roll a good Erentl for my pleb PvP skills. And when the menagerie was dropping the multiple chests, I went hard on that and found a couple good Erentl rolls that I really like, and it's
nice.
It's been fun.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, I was never super into fusion rifles, so I haven't really hunted it that hard yet, but it's on my to-do list right after I finish grinding out this stupid armor.
And I know you like talking about armor perks. I've heard in previous episodes from what we've got so far in Destiny, and boy, haven't some of those been a little bit kind of like, well, wishy-washy isn't the right term, but a little bit hard to interpolate what they always mean.
There have been a lot of perks on your armor that are pretty so Bungie did do something different in Destiny 2 than Destiny 1. They actually formalize the language that they use to describe perks, which was super helpful. Because in Destiny 1, they could, the description would say something, and then the perk would also do a thing, and sometimes those two just really didn't ever meet. But in Destiny 2, at the very least, the perk descriptions are generally very accurate, and the words that they use to describe how effective a perk is are standardized. So they're actually comparatively useful. So if you look at one perk and it says it gives you, say it increases reload speed significantly, and another perk says it increases reload speed moderately, you know the one that does it significantly is going to be better. So they did that, which was very helpful, but it's not always clear what that means. Like, is significantly to them, is that like 5 points of reload? Is it actually a very small amount, or is it something that as players we're going to find significant? And so that's, I guess kind of an example of some of the things that I get interested in. Although I've focused a lot more on super recharge research and ability recharge research on armor perks and mods. And now that's all really kind of going out the window, and going to have to start completely from scratch, which I could be upset about, but I'm kind of not.
Now, do you have a basis of, from what we've seen so far with Bungie Stream, do you basically have like a formula or basis that you're kind of have an idea of how that's all going to work, or you won't know, basically, like we won't until that comes out?
So it sounds like they're tuning everything. From what I've read, and especially the director's cut articles have been extremely informative. But from what I've read and heard, they are going to be tuning Super Recharge across the board from every source, on the perks, on the stats, on the base Super Recharges, possibly. So it sounds like it's going to be a whole new world. If I could sing, I'd sing that like Aladdin, but I can't, so I won't.
I was so hoping you would.
I almost did, and I was like, I can't do that to these people. You'd never have me back.
Absolutely. Singing is a must. Singing is a must.
A whole new world. That's about as good as it gets.
We'll take
It's been a long day.
We'll take it.
But yeah, it's going to be the Wild West when it comes to how effective these mods are, and how effective the armor bonuses are. I know Luke's kind of given us a baseline as in terms of like what things are now and how many points that's going to equate to in the new system, which is great because it does give us something to work with. But like, how many points are going to be normal to have in the new system? I have no idea. So just for example, the current base recharge rates, he said, translate to a 30 out of 100 in the new system. Well, that doesn't sound like very much to me.
Yeah.
So I don't, maybe normal, the new normal, like average total is going to be like 50. I think that's probably what people expect, although I have a feeling it's going to be lower than that. And that you're going to have to really specialize in one stat if you want to get to 100. That's my gut feeling for where this is going. But we don't know. We don't know what the new average normal is going to be, which has all kinds of effects on strategy and on muscle memory in terms of knowing when your grenade is up without looking. So it's going to be a very different game in a month here, which is pretty exciting. So
we're getting back intellect, discipline, and it's tip of my tongue right now. What was the third one again? The three that we had from D1 perks. For super regen, grenade.
Intellect, discipline, and strength.
Strength. Yeah.
Sorry,
strength is for melee. And
I drew a brief blank there too.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And I probably just said it weird, but so that's pretty cool. And that of course is mixing into the other three stats we already have. Now, I saw that we can have those go up to 100 in theory, and each 10 points is like a check on the box. So if you have 10 through 19, that's like basically a 1 level, and then if you have 20 or higher, it's a few levels, 30 or higher, it's a 3 level. Does that sound correct? That's how I
something like that. Yeah. So
yeah.
I think like 30 is like three bars or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the baseline that we have right now. But yeah.
And then are we to assume that obviously each one we can't get all the way up to 100. We have to just use our points wisely, just kind of spread them across the board.
That's the impression I've gotten. So each armor piece has a randomly rolled set of all 6, I guess. And so you kind of have to mix and match your armor to figure out, okay, which, for this set of armor, I want to maybe focus into intellect and discipline. And so I'm looking for all pieces that have high stats, but they're all random. So it's like a lot of randomization on that front. Like we're all going to be looking at every single armor drop we get for a long time, basically, is what I've taken away from it. Every single armor piece has the potential to be a god roll. So,
yeah.
So trying to find enough of those to stack up the stats you care about is going to be the new grind for armor drops.
And that makes sense. So yeah, we can stack them up from our actual armor, which it looks like we have 3 slots. And like you mentioned, we can put mods in there. I also saw, and forgive me, I'm jumping all around, but I'm just so excited, and we can talk about particulars. I also saw that, you can level it up almost like your masterworking up to being able to have 10 power on each piece. And also masterworking is well worth it because you get an additional 2 stats, a +2 across the board on all your other stats when you masterwork.
Oh, I missed that.
Pretty sure I can always double check on that later, but
I believe you. I'm going to take your word.
The thing that they seemed to impress upon us was that they want to make masterworking worth it again. And what was also interesting is that to get it to that level 10, you have to start. Okay, it looked like it was using enhancement cores until about level 5 or 6, and of course, any of this can change. We were just seeing some test builds. And then somewhere around 6 or 7, I forget the wording. It was like not enhancement core, but enhancement something else that looked like a higher end one. But then from 9 to 10, it had to use the ascendant shards. It was like, oh boy, those are back.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
more stuff to grind for.
Yeah.
And hence Eris Morn, if that has anything to do with the ascendant shards.
Yeah, I didn't. I guess I missed that part of the stream. I had to step away during part of it, and I never went back and rewatched. So that must have been like the one super important detail that I missed. So that's kind of exciting. I mean, yeah, I guess Eris Morn Ascendant Shards, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I hope I'm saying it right, but that's what it seemed to be. There's more information that's coming out all the time. I know that Luke Smith seemed to also clarify something that some people were confused about on how each armor piece, I guess, comes with a base element, like normal, or whatever, like void, solar, or arc. And you can slot only those elemental mods in, but then they also have, so like you could have like an elemental mod that'll increase hand cannon loader, but then I seem like they also had a hand cannon loader mod still. So there was some confusion on which one takes precedence over the other one, and you don't have to use the elemental ones along. You could use the non-elemental ones that don't match if you want to. So there's a lot that we're still figuring out.
Yeah. So the way those worked is like the ones that are like every weapon type now has an affinity to a specific element, and so like the hand, I forget what it is off the top of my head. I suppose I could just look at this chart that somebody put together that I have somewhere, possibly, maybe. Hand cannons, void. Hand cannons are now void, aligned. So your hand cannon, your specific hand cannon reloader perk, is only going to show up on. Is only going to be usable, I should say. The mod is only going to be usable on void armor. But then they also have a light arms reloader, or a small arms reloader. Now I forget what it's called.
Yes, yeah. And
so that has the exact same effect, lets you reload hand cannons as well as a few other weapons, but costs more energy. So it costs either 4 or 5 instead of 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, so you can specialize in for cheap, or you can kind of go general for a little more expensive, and everybody gets the general mods for free by default. But then you got to grind for the specific ones if you want to just do hand cannon shotgun.
Oh, that's all cool news. Oh, one other thing that I was really excited, just a little, some people might say it's gimmicky, but I'm sure at least it's always nice when they put things in the game that you know it's working, right? But if you put on mod for increased drops on ammo bricks, then you will, when you're out in the wild and you know it's working because one will be on the ground and have a special glow around it. I was like, yes, that was really exciting to me. I don't know why.
No, I thought that was cool as well, because that's been a huge point of contention for a long time, whether those perks do anything, right? So
Yeah. I always felt they did. I didn't do any scientific testing myself, but I get it why people also would think that they don't. So, but yeah, now we will see it and there'll be no questions about it. Well, at least we hope not.
right, yeah. The problem with RNG is sometimes it's really hard to know if it's actually working or not.
Yeah.
Because you could do, somebody tried to do a test, but it's like, they tested like 9,000 drops, but how many billion drops have there been in the last year? Their sample size is just not really large enough to be meaningful. And nobody has time to gather a scientifically valid sample size for drops. Like, that's just too much.
Too much, yeah.
For ammo drops, anyway, I should say.
Yeah.
That's actually one other change that's coming, right? We didn't talk about that yet. The ammo in Crucible is now going to be team-based.
Yes.
Did I hear that?
Yes, I did see that.
That is definitely a throwback to D1, where one person picks it up, but if anybody who's around when they pick it up, they share.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty. That's gonna change PvP like strategy a lot. That's gonna make it very interesting.
Yeah, I'm still not very good at PvP in general. If we remember about a year ago, and the Pod Clash, I was with Destiny Addicts at the time. First round went up against Massive Breakdown. It got destroyed.
If it makes you feel any better, RezoCast wiped the floor with us in the next round. So Resolute knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We tried, but it's only so much. Of course, I forget if Crucible. It doesn't matter. I was trying to remember who won that now, but that was fun. That was a fun match.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll do that again. Bring it all back.
See, the thing is too, you guys even got lucky. You went up against the PS4 squad. The Xbox squad for Massive Breakdowns is much better at PvP.
Yeah,
I
heard Xbox pretty sweaty in general.
It's Xbox is a sweatier environment, and our Xbox guys. I mean, Mercules is like a top 2% PvP player. He's a beast. People sometimes think he's just a spreadsheet guy, but he's actually like ridiculously good at PvP. So,
I believe it.
He dodged a bullet there.
Yeah,
it can always be worse.
Right, absolutely.
So, one other quick thing that I saw in the notes that Sin might be excited for, or anyone else who is a Titan, is that Titan Weapons of Light coming back.
I did see that. That is exciting. We have meaning now.
We'll see.
I blanked that news out. I'm going to be honest.
No one cares about the Titans. No.
I only do Hunter podcasts. Is this a Titan podcast? I'm sorry. Yeah, no, Titans get a nice little buff there. Those bubbles are going to be pretty beastly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, as a hunter, I'll appreciate having friends who are Titans.
Well of Radiance, and then you can put a Well of Light bubble on it.
Yeah, it's going to be a little stupid. So I guess it makes me feel a little better about the Whisper of the Worm nerf that we got a while back. I'm less salty about that now.
Yeah, that is a really interesting topic too. Like, looking back now that we're this much into it, and what's changed, and with weapons like Bad Juju and with some of these additional super changes. Yeah, we're a little less salty about Whisper, sure. I know a couple friends that are still, and maybe coincidentally they were thinking about stepping away from the game right then anyways, but that was just kind of bad timing for them when that whole Whisper thing happened.
Yeah. It was a frustrating nerf.
Yeah.
Especially given that let's not even go down that road.
Yeah, we don't need to go down that road, that's for sure. But I mean, I think my point was, looking back, at least some points of it made sense. And, you always want to give the developers some grain of salt as they know the long picture, hopefully, right, of what's going to happen. So, and, more's coming in with soon with Shadowkeep, that we know there'll be more buffs and nerfs, and everything should work out. Now, the only thing that'll be interesting is with all these, developer notes that have come out, and some super things might be getting nerfed a little bit. How will Reckoning still be viable? They joke about, like, Reckoning was made to work with a Well of Radiance Warlock with Phoenix Protocol, yet they say that wasn't a good thing. So are they going to take it from the game? Are they just going to keep it and we just all ignore it? It's kind of funny how Reckoning's like that.
I feel like
there was a mention. What do you think about it?
Wasn't there? I think they talked about Reckoning specifically, that they were going to be making changes to Tier 3.
Oh, then I missed that.
Less
that is
punishing.
News. Yeah, that's what they need to do, because
I think that's happening now.
Oh, excellent.
For like people who are going for the Reckoning gear, to do the Triumph. I think they're making that change. Like, I think like that was like part of a recent update or something, where it's going to come out before Heroes is done.
The drops are going to be better for sure, so that's pretty cool. I even just worry about the encounter. Maybe they talked about an encounter too, so it'll be good to look into that some more.
I had thought that they had said that they were going to change the encounters to make them less punishing.
Yeah,
that would definitely be a plus,
because Tier 3 is not super fun.
I know. I
really enjoyed Tier 1 because it was just sort of like go in and just have fun slaying. But yeah, Reckoning did go downhill from there.
Yeah, and I didn't mind Tier 3 at the end, especially like the Oryx encounter, but like the bridge area in the middle just seemed like a weird gate, like a weird, like, we're just doing this to annoy you to get past it, to like an actual real encounter that was better afterwards. So
as a tether hunter, I always had bridge. So
yep. And as a warlock, it was like, oh, gotta make sure at least one of the warlocks are running the well. And I prefer to be an offensive warlock. Like, I know that's funny. Play offensively where I'm Nova Bomb or something like that. But you go into those raids, or you go into the Reckoning, and if you're the only warlock, it's kind of like, well, you better be the well warlock so we can have some protection there.
Yeah, everybody wants the well. That's the problem sometimes with those support roles, is you can kind of get stuck into them.
Mm-hmm.
People come to rely on them, and they don't want to do the encounter without them. And it doesn't help when Bungie admits that they designed the counter assuming that you would be using a specific super.
If they made the other supers a little more viable, we wouldn't be relying on them as much.
Yeah.
But Warlock's got it pretty good.
Yeah, the well is hard. It's hard to go without in certain situations. Even if you don't need it, like, it's so much damage.
Yeah.
And you're invincible while you're doing it. Like, it's really hard to say no to that.
I remember even in D1, there was a little bit of being pigeonholed into like the self-res warlock when you'd go into raids. And yeah, I'm like, I don't want to just play that support role as like the only option, but at least as the raids got easier, we were able to kind of move out of that role and onto roles where then the Titans were the support with the bubble.
Yeah.
Right, Sin?
Yeah, I remember in Wrath of the Machine where it was super nice. We need weapons of light bubble here.
As long
I
as
do miss that.
Change, it makes the game interesting.
I mean, I think the great thing about playing a bubble Titan was that you could like blind all the enemies. So it was kind of like you felt super, super powerful and helpful. And I guess you can do that again now. So if the wells blinded enemies too, I'm sure your warlocks would feel more excited about it. because it would have kind of a secondary use.
Yeah, the Helm of Saint 14, I think, is the one that does that.
Yeah. So maybe the warlocks will get like the girdle of Saint 14 or something.
No thanks.
Don't want to reuse that one.
Yeah, I know. But oh man, but speaking of armor some more, one other thing we didn't even talk about. I mean, it's, a lot of these things, of course, people know, but I think it's just so fun to talk about is how we can change the ornaments on the armor too and change our look. So
right,
like some games call that transmog or whatever, but I didn't look into all the details, or I don't know if they didn't announce the details yet. Do we happen to know yet if those ornaments are available if we've already locked the armor, or is it going to be that thing where we have to re-get the armor after Shadowkeep to make it work? I wasn't sure on that myself.
I think if whatever we have is going to become the ornament and the weapon or the armor 2.0.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, everything you have from Eververse, every armor that you've unlocked, like every full set, I think is what they said. If you've unlocked the full set,
okay,
then that set becomes, I think they said, universal ornaments.
Yes, I heard that word. I remember that.
That you can put on any piece of armor that you get. So that's super exciting.
Yeah. So like I know as a warlock, I kind of liked back in the Warmind times, like the Escalation Protocol armor or the Anna Bray armor. So if that's one of those universal ornaments, that'll be fun to just kind of like attach on to my set of armor or whatever it is. Once I get my perks how I like, I can change how it looks also, and then just kind of stay right there. Will there be much of a reason for grinding other armor unless we want like a Void, a Solar, and an Arc version?
I mean, I think from everything I've seen, like the armor grind at this point is going to be all about finding armor that has the stats you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, if you like one of the sets or whatever, like, you can focus on grinding a specific set. Like, if the Vanguard set the base set just looks cool, you can just focus on grinding Vanguard armor.
Yeah.
And you're all set. But if, say, you end up with pieces from a couple of different sets that don't really look good together, you can use the universal ornaments that you have to make it look like you have a full set of armor that matches, and then it also has the stats you want. So like that, like for me, like just as a quality of life, like, for my hunter to not look ridiculous is one of the most exciting things.
Yeah. It's very much like Diablo 3's transmog for sure.
Yep.
I never got into Diablo 3, but I had people who told me I should.
It's a fun game.
Fun.
I feel like I can't live that life.
Yeah. I lost a couple of years of my life on it, but then I found Destiny, and I've lost several more. They were good years, though. They were good.
I can only live in one game at a time.
I hear you on that. I've tried some other games, but then I'm like, I have all this stuff that I really, really need to do. I really want this title. I really need to go into Crucible. I need to do this. And then somebody says, "Oh, hey, we need one more for a raid." Oh, well, sure. I'm game.
There you go. Yeah, that's Destiny they've done so much to give us like in-game objectives to chase. It's super easy to just be like, well, why would I pay for another game? Like I still have so much I can do in Destiny, which is great.
I calculated out once like how much I spent on all of Destiny 2 so far and how many hours I put into it, and it was like something cents per hour. Like I thought like it was even less than 10 cents an hour. I'm like, yeah, well worth it. They definitely got my value out of this game. As we come to like the close of this season, this year, is there anything Kit you're working on, kind of like last minute stuff, armor sets, pinnacle weapons, things like that?
So I'm working on my hunter armor. This all kind of happened, and then like I live in Texas. I went to Phoenix for 4.5 days, and then I went to Nebraska for about 4 days. And then I went on vacation, because those weren't even vacations. That was like for family stuff. And then I went on vacation for like a full week. And so I've basically been gone like either gone or like just gotten back from a trip and like in no mood to do anything but sleep for basically 3/4 of the last month. So I have not played as much Destiny as I might have liked. So I am desperately grinding out my hunter armor right now, and then I'm also still trying to get. I haven't made like a really hard push to get Revoker. I'm just slowly sort of working on it. And so that I kind of like to get that done before the end of the season, and we'll see. We'll see if it happens. How about you guys?
Those are two respectable things. I mean, yeah, it's always hard when you can't up in the game for a while, and I get it. I was just kind of curious, some things you're working on. I mean, us too. It's just kind of normal. Like I got a Warlock armor set, the Solstice set, but I'm kind of like, that was a fair amount of grind. I just don't know if I have it in me to do anything other than just one armor set.
Yeah.
And because I kind of, the way I play the game is I always want to hop on all three characters kind of like more evenly. Like if you look at my triumphs, I'm like about as maxed out as you can be for like all PvE stuff and Warlock. But if I played
everything
my
else, not
Hunter
so much.
and Titan more, then I could actually have a higher triumph score, but I don't care that much. But yeah, so I just kind of like go hard into one thing and kind of like don't generalize as much across our characters as like, I don't know, people, and I think I play a lot, but then I don't know if it's just streamers or people have a lot of time to just get like all three characters all the way up to like max this, max that. It's pretty crazy. You really can put a lot of time in this game if you want.
Yeah, there's always something else to do. I just hunter main. I always like intend to play my Warlock more, and then they come out with something new, and I'm like, oh, I have to get that for my hunter, and my Warlock's like, but you said you'd play me. When is it my turn? Yeah. And then I play hunter. So that's kind of been all of Destiny 2. I've kind of just like, I've played hunter a lot, and then I'd like try to play my Warlock a little bit, and something happens, and I have to play hunter. So
we all have that go-to for sure.
But if it's I don't think I play very much. I probably, for somebody who doesn't play video games on a regular basis, I probably play like a lot of video games. But I think just like when I compare myself to other people who play Destiny, I'm like, I don't actually play that many. Like, I don't spend that much time playing video games on a comparative level. Like, I just don't. I just really try to be super efficient with my planning so that when I play, I always feel like I'm getting a lot done.
Yeah. That brings up an interesting thought. Just to pivot a little bit. Do you feel like there could be a way, there's been discussions, and of course, Mercules was on recently Destiny Reset, and I loved his opinions about raid matchmaking, whether it's raid matchmaking or making some easier version of raids. Do you feel like anything should be done different with raids just to get more people in them? Because I feel sad that not everyone gets to experience raids because they're like, I don't have the time.
I mean, I think he has a lot of good points. That's something he and I have talked about. Not on podcasts, on many occasions, I think. And I think he has some good points and certainly well thought out reasons for why bringing matchmaking into raids makes sense, especially in Destiny, where while some things can be mechanic heavy, if you compare them to, like other games that maybe Destiny is drawing inspiration from, they really aren't that complicated. Especially once guides are accessible, right? Like,
yeah,
a match-made team day one is probably going to be a bad time.
Yeah.
But
like later on, like a normal version of the raid, not like a heroic version of the raid.
During the 99% lifespan of the raid. After that first week when suddenly, everybody knows the mechanics, or at least can know the mechanics. I mean, it's not that, and we have in-game chat. In Destiny 1, people threw fits until they added in-game chat, and then people never want to use it. So,
I always have mine on. Party chat. I know, but like when I'm like solo playing in raids, in strikes, I'll always have it on just in case. And occasionally someone will come on, and maybe I won't talk, but it'll be interesting to hear them say like, oh crap, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun thing to turn on. Oh, I just feel bad. Like not everyone can experience raids, and if something can be done to make like a shorter, even shorter raid that people can just even hop in with random groups, I think that'd be a plus in my book without taking away the normal heroic version of the raid or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the biggest things that if they want to make raids part of every Guardian's experience, or like say 75% or whatever of the active player's experience, I mean, they need matchmaking, they need checkpoints that you can matchmake with other people who are on the same checkpoint to play. Like they just need to make it. They need to make it something that you literally can go and play one piece at a time as you have time, and you don't have to commit 4 hours if you're not very good at it and you don't have a lot of friends who are good at it. And over time, that number will decrease. They could, over time, everyone or the vast majority of players will get good enough that we can do it in an hour or less. But they've always structured raids as like a pinnacle, like a 5% experience, and that's why only 5% of people play them.
Yeah,
they aren't structuring them for 75%, and that's why 75% of people don't load into them, because it's clearly not made for them. There's no incentive.
Maybe I don't want to take anything away from like maybe even, and of course this takes more development time, so who knows if it would ever happen, but without taking anything away from the hard version or even the normal version, if they could make like a starter version that, you mentioned the point, like people, if they could have checkpoints, I would love it if they could even have checkpoints that go across weeks for like a beginner version.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest thing that gets people disappointed. Like, oh, I got to finish it this week. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a fantastic point. Like there are players who would love to raid, but can't always commit. Like maybe they start it and something comes up. Their kid throws up while they're in the middle of a raid. Well, they got to log out, and hopefully they have time to come back to it, I guess,
Yeah.
It happens.
I like that. Kid throws up in the middle of a raid. I got it.
Your sin falls asleep.
That has happened.
I've had more people fall asleep during the first encounter of a raid than any other point of the raid. I don't even know how that happened. We're like 20 minutes in and somebody's snoring, and we're all just like trying to push them into a corner and recording them snoring. I don't know. It's weird how that happens, but
that is interesting.
When you work a lot and Kingsley keeps you up till 3:00 in the morning raiding, that happens.
Yeah, because Sin's East Coast and I'm Mountain Time, so I do have the benefit of like not getting tired as early as the other folk because it's an earlier time zone for me. But then I feel bad because they're staying up late.
Yeah, no, I know that pain. I used to raid with people who were in all 4 and whatever time zones in the US. And time conflicts are a real thing. So I don't know. I think it'd be great if Bungie did some more work to maybe accommodate that fact.
Yeah, for sure. Because raids can be fun. Do you have like kind of like a quote favorite encounter or raid from either D1 or D2?
So D2, like I started out really wanting to raid a lot, and I basically have hardly raided at all in Destiny 2, for a variety of reasons that aren't worth listing. But for me, honestly, running the Abyss in Crota's End in Destiny 1 was always something that was really rewarding to do, and was always a lot of fun. Just the precision, knowing exactly where the encounters were going to happen, where you had to dodge to, where the holes were, where the ogres were going to spawn. Like it was something that you could memorize and execute on. And it was really rewarding for that fact. And it was kind of a hero moment, right? Like I don't know if you guys played a whole lot of Crota's End or not.
Oh yeah, especially as a hunter, right? You could do that.
Oh yeah. It was one of those superhero moments as a hunter that just made you feel like, I don't know. It just made you feel like the most important member of the team for 5 minutes, which is great, which is a great feeling.
Yeah.
So anybody who didn't get to experience the Abyss, and that's too bad. It was a fantastic encounter.
Oh, yeah. And the raid in general, because it was a shorter raid. So actually, I feel like more people were able to experience that raid. I remember even through the end of D1, people hadn't raided at all. We're like, well, let's at least get you into Crota. It's like a strike at this point. We can get you through it in a half an hour if it goes well, you know?
Yeah, I heard a lot. It definitely got called a strike a lot.
At least on normal mode, you know?
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, it wasn't super inaccurate. It was so cheesy, right? It was so... Crota's Inn got a lot of flack from a lot of people when it first came out, but I don't know. I think some of the things that people didn't like about it became endearing after a while. Like, it was super frustrating how glitchy certain encounters could be, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, I look back on those moments with fondness now.
Yeah, I love talking about raiding. I love talking about just what people are doing in the game. So it's good to hear your input.
Kit, do you have the Suros regime catalyst?
I don't think that I do, actually.
Because I know that Crucible. Because I know that
Crucible. Interesting.
Yes.
I might be able to look. I might have a Suros regime in my vault. I don't.
Did you get it, Sin?
No.
Okay. I was like, I don't have it either. Because that was a fun one to use in the Crucible. Some also Suros regime, and I know that supposedly that one drops to Crucible, but I haven't gotten it either. But I don't play tons of Crucible, but it hasn't dropped for me yet.
Play more.
I know. I need to play more. And, that really is something that I can honestly say listening to Massive Breakdown podcast gets me excited to play Crucible more, because you guys always give me hope of like, well, if I learn the stats of the weapons more or why Crucible can be fun, then it actually gives me reasons to go in it. Because I never bought Destiny I just not the type to be a PvP Crucible type player. I bought it for the adventure aspect, and this is the first game I went into Crucible. So I really appreciate what you guys do in your podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's awesome to hear. That's one of the big things I think we aim to do, is to encourage people to like PvE is fantastic, and certainly there's a ton to do in PvE right now. But there's always a point where you're like, well, I've beaten this raid 15 times. I don't really need to do it again. And there comes a point in PvE where you've sort of done everything. But in PvP, there's always somebody out there who's better than you. And players are the most unpredictable and sort of exciting opponents, I think, to face in the game. So we do I think try to encourage people to give PvP more credit in terms of what it contributes to the game at large. So that's great to hear that we've maybe encouraged you to give it a little bit more of a try than you might have.
Yep, and Sin can kick my butt to get in there also, while I kick his butt to raid more.
There you go.
Truth.
Well, the great thing is, while you're waiting for a raid team to form up, you can always jump into the Crucible.
That is true.
To kill 10 or 15 minutes.
Yep.
So it's always there.
It's always
waiting.
There.
Shax is waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to see what's going to happen too with the supposed mountaintop change. If it'll be something a little bit easier attainable for me with that change that's coming early September. So it might be a pinnacle weapon that I actually go after.
I mean, I'm curious to see what happens with the mountaintop in general, because it could potentially become a very prominent PvE weapon, even more so than it already is.
That is very true. So.
It's funny how many of those pinnacle Crucible weapons are super, super important for PvE. I guess that's what happens when they give them super overpowered perks.
Yeah, I do wish I had that one, but no. I
haven't taken the time to grind for the mountaintop either. I can't criticize anybody for that. That's one mountain I have not climbed, and we'll see. Maybe I will. Maybe that'll change this fall.
Well, before we get into housekeeping, I have a couple bonus questions, and then anything else you want to bring up. But tell me, what is your favorite dessert?
Oh, I mean, for dessert, realistically, like almost anything chocolate, you can't go wrong. For me, like I am a chocoholic. I basically live off of chocolate. So anything that's just like super rich, dark chocolate, if you give me some dark chocolate fudge with chocolate chips and chocolate syrup on top,
hey, that sounds great. Yeah.
I'm on board. The more, the better.
I kind of want dessert now. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, some good chocolate chip cookies, some chocolate cake. Sounds good. Now I know you like sci-fi shows like Star Trek or whatever. What is a movie? I mean, we kind of, we all know that the Marvel movies are popular now, and you can certainly give that as an answer. But what kind of show or movie have you just recently been into or impressed with?
Ooh, boy, I should have I feel like I'm not prepared for this. There's so many answers I could give.
You on the spot. Something that just it can be something you found interesting. Maybe the listeners don't even know about as much. But yeah, whatever you want to put.
Okay, let me think for just a second here.
No problem.
Might have to edit out the long pause that's about to happen.
Yeah, and the pause.
Okay, now you know what? We'll dive into it. So I'm gonna give boy, I might give you a couple answers. Okay, so kind of in the sci-fi vein, I tend to really enjoy sort of psychological thriller elements a lot of times. But I can also get down to into shows that are just super over the top in terms of ultra violence. So I'll give you a couple examples from both ends of the spectrum, right? So in terms the more the thriller aspect, two shows that I've really enjoyed over the last couple of years have been Orphan Black. If you've not seen Orphan Black, it's phenomenal. It messes with your head and with your expectations so many times over the course of the show. I don't even want to explain the premise. It's best if you watch that show knowing that it's a sci-fi show, but having no understanding of what it's about, because it sort of explains itself as it goes along. I really enjoyed that show. Need to back into it, actually. And then I just watched, what's the name of this other show I'm thinking of?
Orphan Black is a good suggestion. I've heard that's been on my short list, so I'm definitely typing that up here. Okay, so a show that I think probably almost everyone has heard of if they're into sci-fi, Altered Carbon. Fantastic
that is
show.
Actually a really, really good one.
So it's ultra violent, but it's also super psychological. It sort of covers every spectrum for me. It just hits so many crazy what if scenarios so hard that it's phenomenal. I really kind of want to go back and read the books that it's based on, but I haven't had time yet. But I'm actually part of the reason I got interested in that show. There were several, but I'm a big fan of Joel Kinnaman as an actor. I found him really impressive in, I think he was in The Killing, which is not sci-fi, which is just a murder mystery. But it's a phenomenal murder mystery. But so I'm a big fan of him as an actor. And so he was also in an Amazon original called Hannah, which is based on a movie from a few years ago that I don't know how well it did or didn't do. I never saw it. But Hannah is basically, so I don't even know what all, it's sort of a moderately sci-fi show. It's very, very present day, but it's very, it hits, like I said, it hits some of those ultra violence aspects. There's a lot of broken bones and necks being snapped and explosions, which I enjoy, especially late at night when I'm just trying to chill.
I get it. I do too.
The fact that people being, having their bones broken and things exploding calms me down at night is probably a commentary on our culture. But we won't think too hard about that. But I've really enjoyed.
Before you go to bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a little relaxing Breaking Bad before you sleep. Nothing like that to put you to sleep. So I've really enjoyed Hannah recently. I just binged the first season, and so that's there's a lot of psychological stuff in that show in terms of like trying to figure out what people's motivations are and why they're doing certain things. But then to kind of flip it totally on the other onto like a totally different spectrum, let's talk about superhero shows. Have you guys seen The Boys?
No, I'm
on
gonna
Amazon
start that soon. I think I talked my wife into watching it with me, and she understands that there'll be some crazy parts.
That is on my list too.
We're good with watching crazy things together, so I'm not too worried about that.
So not to spoil it, but the first show I started watching, like the first 5 minutes of it, just all I can say is the look on the dude's face.
Yeah,
when that happened.
Yeah.
Wow. I kind of laughed a little bit. I had to watch it a couple times.
I mean,
it was great.
They let you know what the show's about right there. They're like, this is how it is. And it does not, things don't get lighter from that point is basically the takeaway. Funny thing is, so this is, if you like look at the comments for The Boys on Amazon, there are people who have never heard of The Boys, don't know that there are comics and stuff behind it. And they're like, man, like what is this? This is like insane. Like, what am I watching? And then there are all the people like myself who've read the comics who are like, this is actually a lot less violent than I expected.
Okay.
So there's your kind of like, I guess your barometer for what's going on. If you've not read the comics, I actually recommend you watch the show without reading the comics first. And that you maybe go back and read the comics after. Because it was a little rough going into me and being like, okay, this is a TV show. They probably can't do all the things the comics did. And they went, I mean, it's a pretty freaking crazy show. Like, there are things I want to say that I won't say because you guys are going to watch it. So I'm going to leave it at that. But The Boys, highly recommended. If you like Marvel, but you like, occasionally you're like, man, somebody just needs to freaking like punch Tony Stark's head off. Like, that dude needs to, he's got a mouth. The Boys is for you.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I like Deadpool also, which, slightly different, I'm sure, but still kind of.
Deadpool gives you maybe closer, but not quite at the level of violence of The Boys.
Oh boy.
Deadpool is less violent than The Boys. Let's put it, that's an example that I think a lot of people will get.
Yeah.
So,
well, good suggestions. Yeah, that's great, and we'll
hopefully not too long of an answer, but that is an area that I spend a lot of time in. So,
I do have a quick question.
Okay,
top celebrity crush.
You don't have to answer if you don't want.
I mean, like, I don't know that I really have like celebrity crushes. Like, I don't know if I can answer that one. That's a tough one for me.
If there could only be one celebrity that you could pick to be with, who would it be? Not necessarily crush. I mean, everybody knows mine is Mila Kunis, so.
Yeah.
See, the part of the problem is that I very rarely learn any actor or actress's name. So I mostly like only know them by their role. And half the time I forget even the name of the character after a year or two. So like then I'm just like, well, that chick who was in that show that I watched 2 years ago, it was about this.
Yeah.
Nobody has any idea what I'm talking about. So
no, yeah, good enough answer.
I'm gonna pass. Pass on that one.
Pass on that one.
Yeah.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
It's sometimes been an ongoing bit on the podcast, so oh boy. Any other funny questions, Sin, before I pull up just a really quick housekeeping we got for tonight?
No, you're good.
All right. Oh man. Yeah, we won't this won't take too long. We won't bore you with housekeeping, but
no, by all means.
Just like how on your podcast, we love having reviews on our podcast also, and we got a new review this week. We have Almost Civilized. I remember he was mentioning, Sin, to me and you, how he was trying to leave a review. And I guess Apple Podcast was being annoying for him or something, but he was able to get it going. So we got his review now finally. So he said, Great work, guys. An excellent show filled with information by two guardians that have strong knowledge of the game. The guests you have on the show always seem to give me some tips or tricks I haven't heard of yet. The Discord is the best place I have found for trying to get a fire team array together. So all the new Light Guardians looking for a place to get the best information about the game, look no further than the Guardian Hub. Thank you very much, Almost Civilized. We really appreciate that. Yeah, again, we know you were trying to get that review for a while. But we would also like to call upon the listeners to not only consider leaving a review for us, because we'll read it on the air, but definitely leave a review for the Massive Breakdowns podcast, because people have heard on the show before, or if I just talk to them in fire teams, I'm like, if people ask me like what my top podcasts are, you guys always come in there. I'm not joking. I'm not just, blowing smoke. So I call for all my listeners to leave a review on your guys' podcast also.
I really appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't know how much a review means, and actually how much it helps a podcast. So anytime, if you enjoy a podcast, if you like their content, even if you just like an episode or two, if you leave a review, that helps the people doing that podcast get visibility. It helps them get found by other people like you, who maybe you're going to enjoy those same episodes that you did, or maybe something else that they'll take away from it. It makes a big difference, and it makes the people doing the podcast feel great. Yep. Hopefully, if it was a good review.
Yeah.
If not, you'll kick their butt, right?
Yeah, it maybe. Well, if you always got to welcoming to criticism.
Of course, yeah.
Or as we say, or if it's a negative review, we'll provide a rebuttal.
That's nothing wrong with that.
But sometimes you learn something from a negative review or comment. But I do hope that people, if they have something bad to say, that they say it personally and privately first. Mm-hmm. That's always what we ask people to do. If you have qualms or disagreement with something we said on a specific episode, we're in Discord. Hit us up. Just like you guys, we have the Destiny Massive Breakdown Discord, the Good Ship Massive Breakdowns, as we call it. It is actually Star Trek themed in its roles.
Yeah, everyone join that Discord also. It's a great Discord. And yeah, leave a good review. If you have a good and a bad one to leave a good one for them and a bad one for us. No, leave good for all of us. But
and join this Discord. These guys, I just joined it.
Yeah,
they've got actually tech deals in their Discord, which is not something I've seen in any other Destiny Discord. So if you're looking for a new laptop, I'm actually looking at one right now, and I'm like, oh, it's actually a good deal. So yeah. So I don't know what else I can say, but yeah, get in the Discord, get in somebody's Discord.
Yeah. Well, thanks. We appreciate it. Well, Kit, now's the time of the show. Unless you have anything else to add, we'd love to hear your contact information if you want to give any on how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, my phone number and social security number.
Yes, I'm writing it down.
All right. No, yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter at KYT_KUTCHA. That's also basically my tag everywhere PlayStation and Destiny related. So Reddit, Twitch, if I'm actually on Twitch, which is a rare but truly momentous occasion, I assure you. Last time I ate an entire jalapeno pepper on cam. So there's that for you. In Discord, of course, same name. On PlayStation as well, same name. So feel free to say hi. If you don't tell me where I know you from, I will 100% ignore you. But if you tell me where you know me from, then I will definitely respond. So that's the test. That's the lit there. And then at Destiny MVP on Twitter is the Massive Breakdown Twitter handle. So if you want to check us out, give us a follow. We always drop all the podcast links right there, so they're handy for you on your social media. You can also find us on SoundCloud as Destiny Massive Breakdowns, and everywhere that you might listen to a podcast, you'll find us. So your Spotify's, your iHeartRadios, your what have you, this and that. Stitcher even, which I'm not happy about, but we're on Stitcher.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks for all that.
You bet.
Sin, where can the lovely listeners find you?
First, Kit Social 8675309 and his phone number.
Got me. God. How did you know they were the same?
8675309.
Hey, we told you we like singing.
Ah,
But you can find me on twitch.tv/SynMedia. Sin is CYN. And on Twitter at Sin_media. Kingsley, moonwalk us out of here.
Yes, you can find me as Kingsley Mac on PlayStation and on Twitch. And you can find me as MC Kingsley on Twitter. You can find the show at theguardianhub.com, where you have the links to see the show. And you can also find us on Twitter as The Guardian Hub. Well, everyone, thank you very much for listening this week. We again want to thank our guest, KytKutcha, for coming on. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you.
thanks for having me, guys. It's been a blast.
It's been a pure pleasure. And everyone, have a good week. Until next time, good night.
Good night.
Peace.
Now, I do want a rematch, Kid, at some point.
I'm down for it anytime. I don't spend a ton of time in private matches, which kind of makes me sad because I used to have such like an active play group. We would jump into private matches and stuff all the time, and since I've moved and my play time has really shifted a lot. Like all the people I used to play with are still playing at the same time I used to play, and not at the time I play now. So I'm always down. I'm always down for a challenge.
Yeah, it would be fun. I don't know how much of a challenge it would be, but it would still be fun.
Hey, you know what? All it takes is time and practice to get better at anything. So